You know, Dad pinned all his hopes on Jim, and there is a bit of a downside to that, because he would also sometimes pin him against a wall with both hands for some minor indiscretion, minor in Jim's mind. And he really did dream of Jim being the next generation, sort of the next dad, if you will. And that was important to him, but it also put a lot of pressure on it. The Vietnam era left a lot of scars on a lot of people. This wasn't the worst, but when Jim left the Air Force Academy, that was a traumatic time for both my dad and for Jim. And I won't go into the tension and all the gory details around that, but it was a great moment when they reconciled and came back together, and really happy that that happened. You know, tribute to both of you. So, Gail. So Dad yelled at everybody, and we got yelled at a lot. My mom got yelled at the most. Gail never got yelled at. And that just didn't seem fair to me, because everybody else, all the time, got yelled at. So, for example, Gail smokes in the bathroom. No, first of all, she locks the door. We were not allowed to lock doors because that meant something sexual was going on. And we were not allowed to even think about that. So we weren't allowed to lock the doors. Gail would lock the bathroom door, and she'd sit in there and smoke like a chimney. And she was very clever about it, because she'd light the cigarettes and then she'd throw the matches on the porcelain so they'd leave burn marks. So Dad finds this out.
Nobody would ever know.
And Pat gets yelled at. Gail did struggle to get attention from Dad, because, let's face it, she's a girl, and that was a little bit rougher than it was for some others. She once put on a football uniform and a helmet and came to dinner, and Dad just looked at her and said, "Why are you wearing a football helmet?" Gail just wanted a little bit of attention. And then she said that, and he just went back to cutting his calf liver and finished dinner. That was that. So Patrick, okay, he always got yelled at, even if he didn't. We could actually spend all day talking about colorful episodes with Pat and almost anyone else. So one of my more memorable moments was after Pat recently graduated from college. So at the time, drinking age in Pennsylvania was 21. For those of you with kids, you know now it's somewhere between 12 and 14. Pat was ahead of his generation, so he was definitely ahead. So, you know, he came home at 3 a.m., and I knew it was 3 a.m. because every 15 minutes after midnight, Dad would say, "God damn it, Marion, where is your son?" So Pat comes in, very quietly, slamming the door. Dad's lying up in bed. He says, "Get up here, I want to smell your breath and see if you've been drinking." That's true. So Pat was like, who would ever think Pat would drink? I mean, come on.
Look at that cute face.
But he did know, because he got yelled at the most, that taking the offensive was a good tactic. So trying to distract Dad, he goes up there, leans forward to have him smell his breath, and starts choking him. My dad then kicked him. Things got a little rowdy in the bedroom for a while. And
you're not going to say where?
The reconciliation was, you know, Pat saying, "I can't believe your husband tried to choke me." And Dad saying, "I can't believe your son kicked me in the nuts." Well, they then turned on the light.
That was the other way around.
Turned on the light, and Pat had been jumped by 3 guys in an alley. I'll let you tell him why. So he had like black eyes and some lacerations and a concussion. And Dad took him to the hospital and spent the night with him. So go figure. Who else has been choked by Pat? So Jeff's not with us today, but Jeff and Dad had a pretty strained relationship, and it was pretty complicated, you know, especially after my mom died. But one of the things that was one of the coolest memories I had about Jeff was how he came to join our family. That for some reason all the kids were home, and Mom and Dad were out at a party, and they left the party early, which rarely happened, because somebody had been telling them about this family that was in trouble with older kids and couldn't get placed in foster homes anymore, or in other than institutional homes. And Dad came home, gathered us all on the stairs, and said, "All right, we're going to take a vote, and it has to be unanimous. This kid's in trouble. He's got a bad situation. We think we can make it better." It was unanimous. As soon as Jeff got into the house, Dad started the proceedings to adopt him. So even though they had a very strained and difficult relationship, Dad really started the ball rolling and took the lead. So, it's pretty ironic that really good works can go sideways, because till Dad's death, that was just a really painful thing for him. But it was one of the more generous things and thankless things he had ever done. Mary I. So Dad didn't yell at Mary I, or didn't yell at Gail because she was a girl. He sure yelled at Mary I. So Dad yelled at her when she was young. He yelled at her when she was a teenager. He yelled at her before she got married. He yelled at her after she got married. And if he can still yell, he's still yelling at her today. And I think the reason Dad never gave up yelling at Mary, I think he was afraid of her. I sure was, but I think that's why he just said, if I ever back off, I'm in trouble. So he's just like, I'm going to go full bore. And then me, the moment I had, so I had a concussion problem. I had 5 concussions. I played football. I loved to play football. You can see from my size, I was built for it.
That's when you were chubby and had a round face.
Yeah, it was when I was chubby. Yeah, I was a tackle. So after the 5th, Mom, Dad, and I had a conference, and Mom kind of led the conference and said, "He's not allowed to play football if he has another concussion. That's just it. Draw on the line there." I said, "All right, that's reasonable." So the next year, at preseason, I got kicked in the head and I got knocked out. And fortunately, Dad was picking me up in his baby blue Volkswagen. So this guy who was pretty stern was driving this really chick car, and we're sitting in this baby blue Volkswagen. And we didn't really have a medical discussion about this. We knew that what Mom had already decided. I wanted to play football. Dad wanted me to play football. And I said, "Well, what are we going to do?" And he looked at me and he said, "Let's not tell your mother." Now that was a terrible, terrible decision. But I tell you, I remember we were like partners. We were buddies. We were on the same team. And it was a really tender moment for me. Bad decision. But that was early Dad. In all of the early Dad, you could see that there was a bit of Act 3, So even though he was rather difficult when he was young, all of us experienced parts of him of what he would become like when he was older. The part where I saw that most dramatically was the arrival of Colonel Pop-Pop. So all the grandchildren who were afraid to sit with anyone else and all huddled over there, they kind of know Act 3 better than any of us. But one of my favorite sort of beginnings of Act 3 was when my mom was dying, and my dad spent sort of endless hours with her when that was going on. It was a long process. We were down there visiting, and he came out of the room for a while. Ruth and I went in, and then we came out, and Gabe at that time was 1, and I believe he had just learned to roll over from his back to his front. And Gabe's lying on the floor, on his belly, and my dad's lying on the floor, on his belly, and he's trying to teach him how to crawl. He's saying, "Come on, just put your arm here, and then lift your knee up. It's easy, you can do it." And that went on for about 10 minutes, and Gabe was very responsive to the coaching. So, I want to close with a couple sayings from my dad. So, the priest who said he was humble today, every day when my dad brushed his teeth and shaved, he would look in the mirror, and at the top of his voice, which was, he had like one volume, he'd say, "My God, you're handsome, Philbin, don't you ever die." And we heard it every day. Another favorite of his sayings was that after grace, he would always say the Irish toast, "May you be in heaven a half hour before the devil knows you're dead." And he usually got it right. And that was a traditional toast. And right after Dad passed away, Pat sent a group text, because we wouldn't want to talk to each other. Sent a group text to everyone. Instead of it's like be in heaven before the devil knows you're dead, it's like, "Okay, Mom, break's over." So mom and Dad had such a love story. I never understood it growing up. I didn't understand it. I think we were all blessed to have experienced it. And as we get older, we probably understand it a little better. So we were very fortunate. But I thought you would all join me one last time. And you know the words. My God, Phil, you're so handsome. My God, Phil, you're so handsome. Don't you ever die.
Don't you ever die.
That's right. So, all right, ready? My God, Phil,
You're so handsome, don't you ever die.
that was bad coaching on my part, but he's still with us. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Dennis.